Drake London from Southern Cal, another guy that is thought to be one of the top targets. You see the size, 6'4", 219, a big red zone target. You look at the scouting report, the comps, Ed McCaffrey, pretty good wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. 50-50 balls. I like that line. He turns 50-50 balls into a 70-30 advantage. That tells you he's really good at the point of attack and in contested balls. Drake London sees some comps to a guy that's been really successful in Mike Evans for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I had people like Amon-Ra, Pitt, and Tyler Vaughns, and I was able to take things from them. And then also a coach like Coach KC, who's also a great at SC. So definitely guys like those who I can attribute my game after. And then also people like Mike Evans, just a guy who's similarly built as me, and I could take his fluidity from his game, being that he's been in the league so long and things that he knows. So definitely somebody like him.
So we could pencil you in for 1,000 every season like Mike Evans does?
Yeah, I'm going to try to shoot for that. Like you said, my mentors like Pitt and them, I could always just call them up and ask them, hey, how does this work? How'd you do good at this? And how'd you get accustomed to certain things? So I definitely have good people in my back pocket, and I'm just excited for the future.
And Pitt, that he refers to as Michael Pittman, the Colts wide receiver. Drake London, again, an intriguing red zone target. Again, the question is, what do the Browns want? What type of receiver?
Yeah, that's going to be the million-dollar question. I've contended that, I think what Baker Mayfield could really use is a very tall receiver, a guy that's easier for him to spot. Obviously, Baker being shorter, you want a guy who's tall, that it's easier to see. And I think with Drake London, the appeal to me is a guy that moves. For a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", he's a guy who moves like he's 6'1", 6'2". What I mean by that, he's got more, agility than you expect from a guy of his size. He's more fluid than you expect from a guy of his size, and that's a bonus. Plus we talk about, the age thing. That's an underrated thing when it comes to players the Browns have targeted. They haven't drafted a player who's older than 22. Drake London, now the top 5 receivers, is the youngest of the 5. I think he's not even supposed to turn 21 until July. So that's a nice little bonus for any of the Drake London fans out there who want him to go to the Browns. But, obviously him recovering from his injury, he didn't test at the combine, which is, as much as you understand, I would have kind of loved to see what he could have done in the 3-cone. I think it would have been very fascinating to see how that stood out, how that compared to smaller receivers, because I think that would be a really interesting metric to really see, because I think that's an underrated part of his game, something that, again, 6'4", 6'5" guys aren't supposed to be able to do. And there's also a basketball background to Drake London's game that we've seen players like Antonio Gates and Jimmy Graham have coming into the NFL to make them successful. Not to say Drake London is going to be as good as Antonio Gates and Jimmy Graham, but it could certainly help, and it's a good tool to have in a 50-50 ball, jump ball battle. And I think there's a lot to love about Drake London's game. I know he didn't work out this past weekend, but in the last week for me, I think his stock has gone up a little with me, just thinking about it a little more.